for Caleb to take the next step, which in turn should help everybody move forward. So that relationship started off on a really good note, and look forward to seeing it kind of build into the future.
Man, he can throw the ball so well. There are some throws he's made on tape from last year outside the numbers on a rope, 20 yards down the field. That's what certainly attracts your eye. But then you see the creation of plays when things break down and he's having to evade the rush and break the pocket and potential explosives down the field. That's a little bit different dynamic than what I've been around, and really, really excited to see where that can go for us.
So, Mel, how can the Bears make his life easier via the draft? They're back in the top 10 with the 10th pick.
Yeah, Darnell Wright's a heck of a right tackle. They got 3 to 4 new starters possibly on this offensive line, Hannah. And left tackle Josh Simmons out of Ohio State was playing great football, flawless football, until he got hurt October 12th against Oregon. Patella tendon injury, knee. Word is that he's going to be ready to go for training camp. He's ahead of schedule, met with teams at the Senior Bowl. So you're getting a guy at pick 10 who would have been maybe the 4th pick overall to New England had he not gotten hurt. So this makes an awful lot of sense for Josh Simmons if your medical staff signs off and feels in agreement that he will be ready to go by training camp.
Yeah, didn't allow a single pressure on 153 pass blocks in 2024. That's pretty good. To Pittsburgh, where General Manager Omar Khan addressed the plan at quarterback with neither Russell Wilson nor Justin Fields currently under contract.
I'd say, ideally we'd like to keep one of the guys that we had with us last year, but until we don't have anyone under contract, so until that happens, all options are on the table. Look at our guys; they both had different skill sets, and the guys that are available out there, those probably have different skill sets than the guys that we had. We're just looking for the guy, the player that's going to help us win our ultimate goal, which is a championship.
What should Pittsburgh do at quarterback?
Well, I do think they're going to end up bringing one of those 2 quarterbacks back, Hannah, but I think they have to aim higher. We just heard Omar Khan say their ultimate goal is winning championships. They lost 5 straight games to close this past season. They haven't won a playoff game in nearly a decade. I had them taking Jackson Dart 21st overall in my last mock draft, much to Mel's chagrin, but I still believe there's a real chance that Jackson Dart ends up going somewhere in the first round. I have already seen what this team looks like with Justin Fields or Russell Wilson under center. I want this team to aim higher because the Steelers are too good of a franchise to simply compete to make the playoffs and not actually win games in the playoffs.
Last took a quarterback, Kenny Pickett, 20th overall in 2022. Cincinnati. Wow, what are they going to do this offseason? They have contract decisions to make on Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Trey Hendrickson. Here's Director of Player Personnel Duke Tobin today on the future of the Stars.
Whenever I'm in charge of a football team, I want T. Higgins. And so I'm going to do what I can to get T. Higgins. Our preference with T. Higgins is to do a long-term agreement. Always has been. It continues to be, and we'll work hard to get that done. Jamar is always going to be our priority. He's a fantastic football player. He's going to end up being the #1 paid non-quarterback in the league. We're there. Let's get it done. The earlier we can do some of this stuff, the freer it gives us to build the rest of the team. Trey's super passionate. It's exactly what makes him a great football player. And we're going to talk as the offseason goes and hopefully come up to an agreement that everyone's acceptable of. But are we there yet? We're not there yet.
All they got to do is open up that checkbook, Tim. How should they prioritize these 3?
Well, I think everyone's on the same page that Jamar Chase is the guy that should be at the top of the priority list. And it sounds like he is, rightfully so. He will be probably the highest paid non-quarterback. It sounds like the Bengals are okay with that. Outside of that, I think I would put Hendrickson and then Higgins. Hendrickson is their best pass rusher at this point. You could almost make the argument he's their best defensive player. Probably is. And then I think with Higgins, look, you can't allocate too much money at one position, and so you need Burrow to make other guys, raise their level of play, and that's why I would have Higgins last.
Yeah, by the way, they have the 8th most cap space in the NFL this offseason, projected to have the 3rd most next season. It's just got to spend that money.
We believe we found him. And I got so much confidence in Michael Penix leading us into the future, and I believe our whole building does, and I believe our fan base does, and I believe our owner does.
So, meanwhile, the guy who right now is the backup in Atlanta, a very expensive one, Kirk Cousins, his time with the Falcons started off okay, led the team to a 6-3 record, 12th best total QBR in the league, and then it just fell off a cliff. Leading to his benching. He went 1-4 over the last 5 games, worst total QBR and TD to interception ratio in the NFL. from weeks 10 through 15. And here, everybody was making fun of the Falcons and taking Penix at 8 last year. But, you know, they saw a good quarterback and they took him, right? I think it was a really, really smart move in retrospect. So now what about Cousins? Should teams be interested in him?
Well, I will say this, and I think that maybe the reality was the bad move was Kirk Cousins being signed to a 4-year, $180 million contract as opposed to taking Michael Penix Jr. 8th overall. I do think teams will be interested in signing Kirk Cousins. I don't think trading for him, though, is realistic. If I were the Falcons, I would cut him before a $10 million roster bonus is due on March 17th. Once that roster bonus is earned, it is on the books for the Atlanta Falcons. What they're doing, though, and saying they're going to keep him beyond that deadline, Hannah, is they are trying to entice teams to make an offer to eventually offset some of the salary. I'd cut him now. I'd avoid paying that $10 million. I think the Cleveland Browns would be on line one if Kirk Cousins became a free agent. I understand there's a very thorough evaluation medically you need to do of Kirk. He did not look like himself for much of last year coming off of that Achilles tear. But just like it was the case with Russell Wilson last offseason, because the Falcons still owe so much guaranteed money to Kirk Cousins, a team that would eventually sign Kirk would be able to pay him basically the veteran minimum. So the Steelers got this massive cap break last year with Russell Wilson, even if the results weren't great, Tim. It's such a bargain that, to me, it's a no-brainer for teams in a quarterback quandary to at least explore.
Yeah, and I think because it's going to be so good for the eventual team, I feel that's probably why, you know, the Atlanta Falcons are like, no, we're good with this $28 million backup that, you know, we still over $100 million to. Yeah, you nailed it, Field. The bad move was if you were going to get a quarterback in the draft, you didn't need to guarantee so much money to Kirk Cousins. Like that, that was the mistake. And now that's just the bed you're living in, much like, and you hit the nail on the head, much like Denver, you know, made the bed with Russell Wilson. There was really nothing they could do about it. Now, I also agree with the assessment that there will be somebody interested because while Kirk Cousins is not the player he once was, he still can operate in an NFL offense as well as 31 other people on the planet, basically. And so he would be one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the NFL if he were on a roster somewhere as the starter. So whether it was Cleveland or whether it was a team like the Titans that got left out, somebody like that, it definitely makes sense. But the Falcons have to cut him loose before that can happen.
Yeah, just coming off that Achilles injury, too. I mean, when you really look at the big picture of everything last year and the decision they made, the best one was on draft day. All right, to some top stories. Our Kimberly Martin asked Browns general manager Andrew Berry about the status of a potential Myles Garrett trade.
You know, Myles, he's a big part of our team, big part of our organization. Love him as a guy. He's obviously been a highly productive player for us. Multiple conversations with him in his camp after the season. Look, we're all frustrated with how last year went. But for us, you know, what's in our best interest as an organization is having Myles Garrett with us. So we love Myles. You know, he'll be here for us. We don't have any interest in trading him, and you know, we'll work through that over the next few weeks.
Stay tuned. Kansas City Chiefs general manager Brett Veach said at the Combine today that tight end Travis Kelce is fired up about entering the final year of his contract and playing, saying, "We left it as he'd be back, and we're excited to get him back and get going. But we are still awaiting official word on Kelce's future from Kelce." Meanwhile, Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel made some headlines today saying that the team is planning for free agency in the draft without Teron Armstead. The left tackle has agreed to drop his $28.6 million salary all the way to the minimum. That does allow the team to make some moves they want to as he considers what his future is in Miami. And the Ravens addressed the sexual misconduct allegations against kicker Justin Tucker today. General Manager Eric DaCosta said the amount of allegations is, quote, serious and concerning. He added, and I quote, "I think we're fortunate that the league is doing an investigation. We'll wait as patiently as we can for as much information as we can, and we'll make our decisions based on that." 16 massage therapists from 8 high-end Baltimore area spas have made allegations of sexual misconduct against Tucker. That's according to the Baltimore Banner. DaCosta acknowledged he has spoken with Tucker, but that he will keep those.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các bạn đã đến với kênh YouTube của mình. Mình xin tự giới thiệu, mình là người sáng tạo nội dung trên nền tảng YouTube. Mình